Hey everyone, welcome back. Sorry for the slow uploads, I traveled home for the holidays and then got sick. Anyways, Gara has finally reached peak. With the Warframe 1999 update, Gara for the first time has been able to build for every single stat she wants. Since her release, she has had multiple build paths, but they were mostly all about the same thing. Touch of Death with her 2, or not building for it, but still building for detonating her 4 for AoE damage, or not building for it, but still building for her 1 for smaller AoE arcs. Each of these were used to scale up the damage of the former, and Shattered Lash builds had always been the weakest of the three for overall performance due to smaller AoE and smaller damage. But this is no longer the case. With Warframe 1999, Shattered Lash can now have red crits, guaranteed slash, and absolutely batshit insane crit damage, all at the same time. Yes, you're seeing this right. Force proc slash in this massive area. Granted, Shattered Lash still has its own issues, but this is the best we've had, so let's take a closer look. The melee stat stick first, as Shattered Lash is a pseudo-exalt. This means the mods on the melee are used to scale up the ability's hidden stats. Once upon a time, Ceramic Dagger was the go-to for pure slash builds, but we lacked good crit. At best, maybe we would get Wrathful Advance, but Shattered Lash also has base 1x crit damage, so crit damage mods only gave a minor benefit. The alternative was to go all in raw damage with Magistrar Incarnon, as it increases both crit chance and base crit damage, the rarest stat, before mods apply. However, now we couldn't slash proc, and damage was decently good but could be better. Bow Incarnon gave you the option to build 100% crit and status at the same time, and was the best scaling build alongside Roar to double dip the bleeds, but again, it was built off of 1x base crit damage. The other big issue with Shattered Lash is it being unable to hit any enemy in a knockdown or ragdoll state. Even enemies floating at awkward elevations can mess up the hitbox. Thus, we want to guarantee they die on the first hit and minimize using crowd control that changes enemy states. Enter Melee Daunty. Note that this video was after Daunty was patched to function properly. This new arcane from Warframe 1999, it takes the percent proc rate, note rate, not weight, of puncture on the weapon and grants 1x crit damage final per 10% present. Ceramic Dagger is by default 90% puncture already, and it also has an Incarnon perk that increases its base status up to 50%. Slapping Weeping Wound on this and we get to minimum 345% puncture rate at 12x combo. On this build today, we cap out at 34.5 flat crit damage because of further status mods. And yes, this applies after all other mods, meaning our Ceramic Dagger is base 1x crit, but adding 34.5 times is more than enough to obliterate everything in our path. And because we scaled it after our status perk, we also have all the slash we need, reaching 365% status at 12x combo, and it's all pure slash on the arc swing. Finally, we throw on more combo duration so that our Weeping Wounds decay super slowly. Actually, modding status chance directly is also useful since it double dips to boost both slash proc rate and Melee Daunty's crit damage conversion. So much for DE not liking stat sticks, right? Now that we got our crit damage sorted, our last issue is crit chance, which we can now get from Wrathful Advance like before. And Roar is no longer needed since we have insane crit damage stats, we just need a way to access it. Shattered Lash has base 0% crit chance, so the only way is Incarnon perks, which we already spent on the status perk for Melee Daunty, or flat sources, of which the best consistent choice is Wrathful Advance from Kullervo. Make sure to aim it at the floor though when you use it, so you don't burn all your combo. Depending on what you prefer, you can also swap the invert controls in your settings if you want it on tap instead. This leads into our Gara build. I would strongly recommend 2 casting speed shards and a light recommendation on 2 energy max shards. Other shards are not really necessary. The Aura and Exilus slot are flexible to whatever you want and not super important for the build. My main suggestions are Power Drift or Cunning Drift for Exilus, and this setup focuses on being invisible with the Kubrow at all times, meaning I opted to not mod for survivability. As a bare minimum, Splinter Storm is still available for 44 seconds of 90% damage reduction per cast. We also have a flex Rolling Guard on the build if you come out at invis at a bad moment and to cleanse statuses. Otherwise, you could drop it for more strength for a consistent 300% crit chance from Wrathful Advance for full red crits. 75% efficiency is usable on today's build, despite casting Shattered Lash every 2 to 3 seconds, and easily offset by Equilibrium. We still low take overextended because the biggest weakness of Shattered Lash has always been its awkward hitbox. Making it as big as possible minimizes this issue. We still retain a good duration though with Molt efficiency since we are invis, so our shields don't get hit, and that means Wrathful Advanced buff will instead last 20 seconds, making it less annoying to recast. You could alternatively run Arcane Crepuscular if you want more strength without changing mods since we're always invis, but personally I felt the performance of the build was good enough. Now while your primary isn't that important as we deal so much damage per swing that we one-shot Acolytes now before the slash even ticks, you will still probably want to bring something with Amalgam Serration for sprint speed and Dexterity Arcane for longer melee combo. Otherwise, you can use Rhoda to stack the first 12 times combo quickly in mission, but you'll lose Amalgam Serration. This also carries over to our pistol, using it for Augur stat sticks to give some shield back while invis, and also carry the second Dexterity Arcane. Now, Focus School is quite flexible today. You can use Madurai for more strength and casting speed, but you can also use Zeneric for even more energy economy. Now, I skipped both of them because they require me to reset their buffs every 20 seconds and they aren't needed for today's build, as nothing else really requires me to reset buffs. So this brings me back to Neramon to guarantee I almost never drop melee combo, as my companion will also be bringing Tandem Bond. Now, this is a Cuirass Kubrow. Its main purpose is to make you invisible. So long as you don't swing your melee or shoot your guns, you remain invisible if there are enemies nearby, even if you cast abilities. Primed Animal Instinct is preferred to keep track of spawns, and Tenacious Bond is pretty standard on these kind of builds, albeit pales in comparison to the flat 34.5 times crit damage that Melee Dante gives us on today's build. Mystic Bond is another flex slot, but the one we really want is Tandem Bond. Unlike Sentinels, Kubrows will attack while invis, and this will grant 6 combo to my melee. Refreshing combo duration per hit, and I know since we're nuking in front of us, even if it fails to, that's why I brought Neramon. Regardless, super comfy so I could just focus on using Shattered Lash. Otherwise, typical Momentuous Bond and other survivability pet mons plus fetch. That's it. To play this build, all you gotta do is build up combo on your melee when you load in, be it Rhoda or actually swinging your melee. Once you do, just wait for your Kubrow to make you invis. Then cast Wrathful Advance at the floor so it doesn't heavy attack and burn all your combo. Now you're free to spam Shattered Lash everywhere you want. And a Flamethrower amp like Clamoran can be useful to deal with nullifiers if needed. Cheers! If this is your first time watching, feel free to leave a like or better yet subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'm trying my best to get you new information out always as soon as possible like we've been doing with the Warframe 1999 update. Stick around if you want to see interesting memes and builds. You don't miss out on any of that, do you? That'll be it for this video. Thank you all for watching and see you all next time.